Welcome to another edition of Our City. First of all, the primary elections are over, and I'd like to congratulate the winners for the City Council in the City of Elizabeth. In the first ward, Councilman Carlos Torres was re-elected. In the second ward, Councilman Nelson Gonzalez. In the third ward, Mr. Kevin Canary will become the new councilman of the third ward, as Councilman Joe Keenan chose not to run. In the fourth ward, Councilman Carlos Cedeno was re-elected. And in the fifth ward, Councilman Bill Gallman. And in the sixth ward, Councilman Frank Mazza. Congratulations to those six on being elected to serve on the City Council, those that were re-elected, and Kevin for a new term come January 1st. A few things going around the City of Elizabeth this week. On Friday at 11:30 in the morning will be the 10th anniversary of the Liberty Square Senior Center, and it provides important programs for our seniors. It's located on Elizabeth Avenue near 3rd Street in our city, and if you ever get a chance you want to stop in, it's an old Carnegie Library that was created over 100 years ago that we now use as a senior center. So if you need more information concerning any events in the City of Elizabeth, please call our Public Information Office at 820-4124. And I'm pleased to be joined in the first segment of this show by Mr. Robert Dash, who's part of the 350 Committee here in the City of Elizabeth. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mayor.
And Mr. Bill Butler, who's the Associate Branch Director of the Gateway YMCA. And Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Now, Bill, you've been on the show before, so we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your relationship with the City of Elizabeth.
Well, I work for the YMCA, and I moved here almost a year ago exactly, and I'm also a resident of the City of Elizabeth.
You said that, and you kept your promise.
Yep, I've stayed in the city, and I really like it here. I love the diversity of the city, so I'm really happy to be involved with this committee and with this event.
Bob, the 350 Committee, you've been active from day one, as has many others, including Bill. So what's your perspective on your involvement in the City of Elizabeth?
I've learned more history about Elizabeth being on these committees, Mayor, than I ever knew before, so it's been really a great experience.
But Bob, do you have any ties to the City of Elizabeth in the past, or clients? You're with the Chamber, but tell us your activity here in the City of Elizabeth.
I'm a former resident, grew up in the Bayway section of Elizabeth on Ogden Street, and went through the Elizabeth school system all the way through Roosevelt through 9th grade, and the old Thomas Jefferson through high school.
And speaking of the Ogdens, in the 350, the Ogden family was one of the founding families of Elizabethtown.
I found that out recently.
Didn't know that. Didn't know that living on Ogden Street growing up, though.
That is correct.
Colonel Ogden, I believe, in the Revolutionary War, and his brother were instrumental.
That's correct.
In the Battle of Elizabethtown and Springfield that halted the British advance on the way to try to capture Washington at Morristown.
That is correct.
It was that family and others.
And I live in Springfield now.
And you live in Springfield now.
So I have both towns covered.
Well, that's where they stopped them, at the foot of the short hills. Bill, the 350th anniversary, in your perspective, tell us about your role and your perspective on the 350.
Well, first of all, the event itself, it's in October. It'll be the 350th anniversary of the charter for the colony of New Jersey, which became the state of New Jersey. And it was initially formed here in Elizabeth. It was called Elizabethtown, named after the governor, Lord Carteret.
Wife.
It was after his wife. The committee has been trying to organize different events to educate the public and bring some of that history to life. So it's been a really good time and good opportunity to get to know some others in the area who.
Have you enjoyed it? I mean, you're a transplant. You're kind of the guy. You moved here. We grew up here.
Yeah.
You kind of came here. So, as someone who's transplanted to the community, what do you think? It's special or new?
I love things like this. Whenever I go or move somewhere new, there's no better way to really get into the community than to become active. So it's been great. I've got to meet a lot of different people. I've got to learn about the history, and there's a lot of the history that's relevant even to today. So it's just made me like Elizabeth even more.
And Bob, you're really active in this event scheduled for a week from now about athletics and the history of athletics in the City of Elizabeth. While you're not getting anybody from 350 years ago, but you got a few of prominent athletes coming out of Elizabeth that are going to be there on June 28th. Tell us about that event.
The event, as you said, is scheduled for Saturday evening, June 28th, and then followed the next day by the block party. And we tried to package it so if people were coming from out of town, they could come to our event Saturday night and be here for the block party. The origination of the idea was while I sat on the committee at various meetings, we talked about the great history and how many great historical events occurred in Elizabeth and what it meant to us. And as I reflected on that personally, I find that the neighborhood in which one grew up in Elizabeth was very special. And for me, because I participated in high school athletics, that was a very, very important aspect of my life growing up. And as I reflected on history, I started to think about all of the great athletes that have originated from Elizabeth. And while we're in the year of celebrating great things of Elizabeth's past, I suggested that we do the same for our athletes. And that's how, the idea kind of was created. We've, I think, have 9 current Elizabeth Athletic Hall of Famers who've said they're attending. Many other players who are attending, and we're looking just to celebrate athletics, whether people had high school careers, some went on to college careers, and others professional careers. As you well know, we've even had an Olympian gold and bronze medal winner, Ron Freeman, back in 1968, and I've been in touch with him. So we're just trying to touch base with as many people who participated. All the sports are welcome. All the schools are welcome because Elizabeth has changed from the 3-school system of Jefferson, Baton, and Edison to now the Elizabeth High School system. So we're trying to bridge that gap of all athletes, regardless of the name of the school. We're all from Elizabeth. And many athletes who didn't go through the public school system but played in the parochial schools but are from Elizabeth. So it's really just a celebration.
Yeah, we've had some Super Bowl winners in Todd Bowles.
Correct.
World Series in Don Newcomb.
Correct.
Rick Barry, Hubie Brown. So we've got some big players come out of Elizabeth.
Some great players come out of Elizabeth.
So, Bill, the 350 committee and the block party that Bob just mentioned, you're active in that. The overall theme of the block party, and where is it, and what are the hours that's going to happen?
So the block party is Sunday, June 29th from 12 noon till 4 p.m. and it's going to be right in front of City Hall. The theme of the party at 50 Winfield Plaza, the theme of the party is to celebrate the ethnic diversity and cultural diversity of the city of Elizabeth. So there'll be live entertainment that day. Each of the acts that we pick represent a different ethnic or cultural community. We've tried to reach out to as many different groups as we can, and we've invited them, if they don't have an entertainer that's going to show up, to provide information. It's really just a day to showcase one of the strengths of Elizabeth, which is that diversity. There'll be also food, entertainment, moon bounces for the kids. It's just going to be a great day, and it's completely free, which is great. In this
Well, we got to root for good weather. I mean,
we're keeping our fingers crossed.
So far, the weatherman's predicting good weather on weekends and bad weather during the week. So, good for the shore.
I was going to say, I'll take it.
This weekend event, Bob, since you've grown up here, you obviously have a little bit of a different perspective than Bill. It means something coming back to your hometown too.
Very special. Elizabeth, when I look at my life, I think Elizabeth was and still remains a great place. It was very ethnically diverse back when I grew up and is still today. I think the groups have changed, the ethnic groups have changed, but it's always been a city where people of differences have come together and been very united. And it's great, coming back to the city, connecting with many that I haven't seen in years, and also connecting with many who I've never known before. But the common bond is Elizabeth, and for us, it's the athletics.
And Bill, the message, you talked about diversity, you talked about the tradition, the city of Elizabeth, and the people that you're going to about. What about all of the people in the message? How do they come together?
During this event, it's really, for example, we're going to have a stage right in front of City Hall. I mean, each of the groups that we have represent one of the communities in here. This is going to be a day when I have groups that are just going to have tables set up where if you want to learn about, you know, the Portuguese influence here in Elizabeth, you can do that. And it's really a day for the members of those ethnic and cultural communities to show up and educate others around them about their heritage. And
You're
how
still
it
looking
ties
for
into Elizabeth.
volunteers, or is it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What do they do? What are the volunteers doing? What kind of coordination do you need?
Whatever we want them to do. No, I'm just kidding. We really need
Good answer.
Yeah, we needed volunteers, particularly for the day of the event, just to sort of help with crowd control and logistics. And if anyone's interested, they can contact me directly. My email address is bbutler, so that's BBUTLER @tgfymca.org.
And Bob, how do people get a hold of you if they need to for the 350 athletics event?
We have a toll-free number, 888-410-2740, or they can email me as well, and my personal email address is rdash@comcast.net.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you both for taking the time to join us on the show. I look forward to seeing both of you at the 28th event and the 29th event. I think it's going to be exciting for the city of Elizabeth to participate and kick off all of these 350 anniversary events that we've had going. We had a Boy Scout walk, just to fill you in, on Saturday morning, where they reenacted the walk from the waterfront all the way to Springfield, which was kind of exciting. It started at Liberty House. So as mayor, I want to thank you for all your volunteer efforts as well.
Thank you for having us.
For Bob Dash and Bill Butler, I'm Chris Bolwage. Please stay with us. After these messages, there'll be more on Our City.
What? We didn't invite alcohol to this party.
Yeah, we don't cheer for beer.
Welcome back to Our City. For the second half of this show, I'm pleased to be joined by Mr. Eli Bodner from the Jewish Family Service Community Urban Gardener. He's a friend and an advocate and a volunteer coordinator over there as well. And by the way, Jonathan Phillips is this friend and volunteer coordinator. He's also the executive director of Groundwork Elizabeth. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Great to see you, Mayor.
Jonathan, I never heard anybody called friend and advocate before, so that's usually you got a title executive director of the Groundwork Elizabeth, and now you're the friend and advocate.
Well, I am the executive director of Groundwork Elizabeth, and
Right.
one of our programs is the Come Grow With Us community gardening program. And we were reached out to by the Jewish Family Service, by Tom Beck and Ellie here, when they started to develop a community-based nutrition and gardening program. So I'm a volunteer and a friend in this position.
Is that how that title came about? Okay. Ellie, tell us, viewers, about yourself. First, we've never met, so tell us a little bit about you.
So I'm currently working at Jewish Family Service, pursuing a career in social work. I work primarily with the seniors through the Friend Advocate program that we have there. I'm in charge of the food pantry and now the vegetable garden as well.
So you're like a jack of all trades.
Yeah, they keep me pretty busy there.
So you still going to school?
Yes.
And what are you going for?
I'm going for my master's in social work right now at Touro College.
Okay, and your undergrad is?
My undergrad, I was also in psychology at Touro.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Wish you well in that. And where are you from? Where do you
Thank you.
come from?
So I come from Staten Island, and I've been living in Elizabeth now for just about 8 years.
Oh, good. The first part of the show, the guy moved here, got a job here, and moved in for the Y, Bill Butler. So
Oh, yeah?
it's good to see people getting jobs here and moving in.
Yeah, no, it's been great.
Good for you. So the Jewish Family Services Urban Community Garden, how did it possibly get started?
So approximately 3 years ago, we were having a meeting to discuss new ways that we could address the growing demands for food assistance throughout the county. And also at the same time, there was concern and discussion about reduction in food stamps as well as other funding sources for our food pantry, as well as other financial assistance for the clientele. Another goal that we had during that meeting was trying to create new volunteer opportunities. for members of the community. And actually, our executive director, Tom Beck, came up with this wonderful way to really incorporate volunteers of all ages in helping provide fresh, healthy produce for people of all ages. And it's been a really cost-efficient and exciting project since.
So, Ellie, where is it actually located?
So the first year, we actually have a beautiful lawn right in front and around the building, which we tore up the side of it. And Jonathan's staff came to help us.
He's
rip
good
it
at tearing
apart.
stuff up.
Yeah, no, at first we were a little cautious, but the truth is it's really been beautiful now. There's just, you walk by and instead of the grass and the plants, we now have a whole assortment of vegetable plants and fruit bushes, and it's really beautiful, and changed the entire look of the garden.
So, Ellie, the community garden, does this feed into the pantry service that you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, so it's definitely very strongly incorporated with our food pantry and our kosher Meals on Wheels program as well. I would say, by the way, it's our clientele are non-sectarian. We service anybody in the community.
I was going to ask that question.
Yeah.
So it's not strictly Orthodox or Jewish folks. It's
No, definitely not. We service people of all nationalities and faiths, and through the food, most of the produce is probably distributed through the kosher Meals on Wheels.
My Jewish friends always tell me I should eat more kosher meals.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the produce, what's great about it is it's kosher and something that everybody could enjoy.
Right.
So, everybody, I think, has an equal enjoyment in that. It was interesting. It was alarming to us when we started distributing it. We realized how difficult it is for seniors, and especially seniors with a lower income, to be able to obtain fresh produce. And they were just so appreciative and excited by the ability to start getting fresh tomatoes and cucumbers and lettuce as part of their food services that we offer.
And Jonathan, how does Groundwork Elizabeth get involved in this effort? Were you asked, Tom Beck call you? It fits
funny.
in your mission, but I'm just curious how you figured it out.
Well, first of all, when we talked to our fellow executive directors from different nonprofits, I got to know Tom a lot better through these efforts, and we call him Farmer Tom now.
How did he get that name?
When he was a kid, he really liked doing farming, and that's kind of
Didn't
how
know that about Tom.
He did, yeah. Ask him when next
I
time you
will.
see him. It's very interesting. So he knew about our work with Come Grow With Us, which was pioneered by some of the efforts by our Assemblywoman Annette Quijano and Bob Varity and a number of other people in the Groundwork organization. And through those efforts, he learned of what we did, asked us to be part of it, and through our garden director, Jackie Park-Allbaum, and our garden coordinator, Christine Guriev, we actually helped them build these raised beds on the front lawn of the property, which was very unique in itself.
No, because when I drive by and I see it, it's like, wow, this is pretty cool. It's right there on Westfield Avenue. It's
And
pretty good.
people would think that people might reach up and tamper with it, but they don't. Actually, it's a great way to actually show people that healthy foods can be grown locally, right in your lawn, your front lawn, your back lawn, and really gives.
That's why the tomatoes are so ripe, because you got the car exhaust coming right up on it, right? That's an old Jersey stigma, but nobody touches anybody's garden in New Jersey. That's that's a big thing. You always respect the other guy's tomatoes.
Right.
Well, first of all, we had the soil all tested through Jonathan and his staff to make sure that it was a healthy environment to be producing the vegetables.
That's a good point, Ellie. Tell us more about that.
And from the very start, I would have to step back and say, admittedly, I did not have very much experience in vegetable production. My extent consists of a not so successful tomato and strawberry plant in my backyard growing up. And so, it was definitely important that we turned to Jonathan and his staff for their expertise in all of this, and teaching us the best way to keep it organic and all healthy. And also, we specifically have chosen things that are high producers so we could capitalize on the space. But there really has been tremendous respect from the community, from passerbys. I'll point out that the garden is right next to a bus stop, and you would think that there might be occasionally littering in the area, and it's actually been quite the contrary, where we feel that people really respect it and enjoy watching the garden grow and flourish throughout the season.
Well, it's a beautiful building.
Wonderful.
It's beautiful grounds. I mean, the Jewish Family Services did a great job in their fundraising, their architecture. I remember cutting the ribbon on this place, Ellie.
Oh, yeah.
from soup to nuts, they did it right.
Right.
You know, so, and it fits in with the neighborhood, the building, and everything. It works extremely well. So, for some of our viewers may not know what Groundwork Elizabeth is, I kind of jumped the gun. Tell us a little bit about Groundwork Elizabeth and where you going next.
Well, we're a nonprofit, 501c3 nonprofit, and our mission and goals are, and it fits in perfectly with what we're doing with Jewish Family Service, is changing places, changing lives. And you look at the front lawn of Jewish Family Service, that's certainly changing the places. And through the efforts of the gardens and growing and programming and allocating the food, that's certainly changing a lot of lives in the community.
And Ellie, the response from the community that you serve, do they know that you're growing some of these vegetables right on the lawn?
So originally we considered putting a fence around the garden for protection, and we ended up finding out that it's actually nicer to have it out in the open. We find that passerbys and people who just see the garden and they're amazed by it, they respect it, they appreciate what we're doing. I mean, we've had a lot of volunteers who've come inside to inquire about volunteering and getting involved just from merely seeing it. And it's really generated a tremendous amount of excitement. It's actually become one of our most popular volunteer opportunities that we have to offer. And it's also great for all ages, which makes it really exciting as well.
So is it tomatoes, cucumbers, what else is there?
So we wanted to keep it at things that are very generic and easy to enjoy without a lot of preparation. And so we have tomatoes, cucumbers, bell peppers, green beans, and then actually this year we've added in a blueberry and raspberry section. And what's great about it is it's all things that can be eaten straight out of the bag, and there's no concern of any preparation that's required necessarily.
And so what's going on for the garden this year? What are the plans? Where's the food go? You all set on all that?
So every year as we're growing and we're able to produce more and more, and what I'll point out is last year we started keeping track of how much the production was, and we've ended up measuring the produce, and it was almost 700 pounds of produce last year.
Oh. And that was the first year?
This last year was the second year, and every year since the first year we've subsequently have been expanding it more and more. This year we added in another about approximately 72 square feet of production, in addition to 3 apple trees which we've had donated from a nursery in the county. And we also added in a separate herb garden in the back of the building, which is actually on a higher raised beds, so that way seniors could get involved in maintaining and harvesting the garden. We're actually aiming this year for approximately 1,200 pounds of produce to be able to distribute, which is really exciting, and we're anxious to be able to start distributing and get more and more.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
And Jonathan, Groundwork will play a role continuously in this.
Yes, it's funny. This all ties in together. Years ago, we actually developed an open space, a small parcel called Apple Tree Park in the Eastport section of the city. And now, through Jewish Family Service, we're actually planting apple trees, and we'll harvest them as well.
Good. Jonathan and Ellie, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us on the show. I look forward to seeing this community. I'm going to pull over one day on the way home and start walking around and take a look at it. So, thanks for doing this great stuff, and hope all the folks that are enjoying these organic fruits are doing well too.
Yeah, no, it's been a great way to, in a very cost-efficient way, to be able to produce fresh produce to a lot of people.
Well, thank you for joining us on the show this evening.
Thank you very much.
For Ellie Bodner and Jonathan Phillips, for Mr. Robert Dash and Mr. Bill Butler, I'm Chris Bolwage. We'll see you next week on another edition of Our City.